My ex-wife begs me to listen when I catch her taking it from the back in my own bed instead. I'm 32 years old. I met my future wife. We named her Joanne when she was 8 or 9 years old on December 3, 2004, for a New Year's Eve party. It was practically love at first sight for me. We barely had an hour of class, but I couldn't get her out of my brain. At the time, I was dating someone else, and I was still thinking about this seemingly little talk I'd had with Joanne the second week of January. At the time, I told my current girlfriend that things couldn't work out. I didn't know if I'd ever see Joanne again, but in that one chat, I felt something I hadn't felt before. I was honest with her and told her I liked her, but she wasn't my lover. I tried to find Joanne through friends and this was before Facebook, and I never used mine. I eventually got her phone number. When I called, she stated she remembered me as well. I invited her out on a date, and we spent a lot of time together, another guy in our social group, Joanne. As a result, we proceeded cautiously. We were evasive about our feelings and didn't even kiss until approximately a month after meeting. Our relationship took off like a rocket after that, and I never imagined feeling so strongly until we were inseparable and insufferable. No. We went everywhere together, and she was enamored with everything I did. And I adore what she did. I'd never met a female who got into skiing and surfing so quickly and enjoyed it. With her exclamation, I'd even taken dance lessons and mastered the samba. But it hasn't always been sunshine and lollipops. And I'll be the first to confess that we, like any other couple, have had our issues. We had a breakup around 3 years ago, though it was only for 3 months. We've lived in both places. Whatever occurred, whatever happened, I believed I'd been the most sensible, loving, and caring boyfriend there ever was. I suppose I could be. She became pregnant around a year into our relationship, and I stood by her totally. She stated that she desired it but could not afford it. I told her I'd be there for her no matter what, and when she miscarried, I took weeks off work to be at her side. When she was kicked out of her home because her parents had emigrated to Australia, I told her that I would be there for her no matter what. I helped her financially until she got her. These were trying times. It was difficult for both of us, but I believe we matured as a result of it. Going over everything, I had the impression that this was something extraordinary. So I proposed to her on New Year's Eve last year after taking her to a bar with a rooftop balcony thing. I advised her that we should check to see whether it was open before we left about 2 a.m. She concurred, but when we arrived, she discovered it wasn't a bar any longer. I was aware of this beforehand, and through my contacts, I was able to contact the owner of the music store, who agreed to let me use his. I brought her up the fire escape, and I had the entire roof to myself, almost precisely how it looked that night, which included hiring a massive fish tank and a slew of Christmas lights. The whole event cost me money, 600 gallons. In the center, there was a table with 2 glasses and a bottle of champagne. I got down on one knee, and she cried and said, "Yes, I've been working pretty well for the last 6 months. I work in sales, and we're about to close a potentially life-changing deal that will make the company I work for millions of dollars over the next 5 to 8 years. I haven't stopped working my arse off, and I've warned her it'll be difficult, but I'm doing it for us. If I get it, I assured her we could have the wedding of our dreams. Well, the previous several months have been tense, but I've finally closed the deal, netting me a sizable bonus and job security for the rest of my life." I was on cloud 9, so I ordered tickets for Joanne and myself to leave. Because of my work, my supervisor allowed me to leave early yesterday, and I reasoned that it would be the ideal moment to surprise her. I snuck into the flower shop and bought her a bouquet of white roses before going back home for a shower and to change out of my suit. I was driving to her mansion at the top of the globe in my white Merc. The work was fantastic. The weather was lovely. I prepared the perfect surprise for her and couldn't wait to tell her about it. Anyway, when I arrived, there was an SUV parked outside that I had seen before but couldn't remember the name of. The penny did not even fall. I unlocked the door and yelled her name when it was unusually locked. I couldn't hear her reply since there was music playing. I assumed she was in the shower and made myself a glass of water and some water from the kitchen flowers. There was some inexpensive wine and 2 glasses available. My heart fell when I heard the bed thumping, and I pieced it all together. I used to think the phrase "my heart sank" was a metaphor, but I truly felt something drop inside of me. It seemed like I was on one of those bungee rides or going to a theme park. I was on the verge of dropping the glass. I went down the steps and there were these damaged old leather boots covered in mud at the bottom. My face was flushed with wrath. I could hear him calling her a horrible girl as I headed up the stairs. I swung open her bedroom door. She was experiencing ducked in the RS. He was ducking her in the RS, not you. She immediately sprang to her feet. And before I knew it, he was dressed. I recognized him when I looked at him. It was this guy who owns a vegan cafe close to my house. We've gone there a few times. He also threw a few parties. She had gone to a friend's house. He tried to justify himself, but I simply urged him to get the duck out immediately. He loves so quick. He does, however, neglect to bring his cheap wine. I couldn't believe my eyes. She came over to touch, embrace, or otherwise interact with me, but I simply threw her back down the bed. I told her she was disgusting and left. I walked straight to my car and she followed me, apologizing and begged me to hear her, and instructed her not to duck, to call me, and threw my personal phone out the window. I have one at work, however, it is only accessible to coworkers. I went home, got in the shower, and sobbed. I can't believe him because the more I think about the relationship, the more I weep. I thought about the miscarriage and sobbed, and then I thought about my proposal and cried. And then I met her for the first time, and I cried even more. I didn't go to work today. I called my boss and told him everything. He's a fantastic friend and a people person. He's informed me that I should take a break from work because I've done more than enough in the last year. He advised me to wait a week and then see how I felt. She has been knocking on my door and calling my home phone. So I unplugged it. My friend came by earlier. After hearing what happened from my boss, he and several of my friends are concerned. They haven't heard from me and are unable to reach me because I dropped the phone. Anyway, I'm aware of the conventional advice. That's not what I'm looking for. Could someone perhaps explain why? I adore birds. So much ducking. I simply wanted us to be happy, and I had worked so hard to achieve that goal. All that effort. It wasn't for me, it was for all of us. How could she accomplish this while ducking? What happened after she miscarried? My baby and I had to pay for a silly ducking ARD study. I'm just perplexed as to why her parents vanished without a trace. After everything we've been through, how could she betray me? I don't get it. What would cause a girl who loves you and said yes to marriage with you to have your baby? That was with you for 7 years, calling you pet names and cuddling and making love to you. Would she use it for? This was broken. This bit of that jack couldn't support a ducking puppy. Some of you have suggested that I get an STD test. I already scheduled one with my own physician. In terms of what other actions I'd performed, I recently purchased a new phone online and canceled all debit payments on my card for her gym membership, business classes, and other expenses. I'm not going to ask her why I'm so angry right now. I believe the solution is self-evident. She didn't care enough about me to use some restraint with the bait. So it's been about a week after it occurred, and I can only express on Reddit that I'm heartbroken. I was angry and confused the last time I posted, but now I'm just on a lonely mission. I've been going for lengthy nightly walks, smoking a dozen cigarettes, and then finding a quiet area to cry my eyes out. My self-esteem has suffered a setback. I reconnected my phone, and I'm staring at it, expecting to hear from her, always hoping to hear her cry for me back. However, this has not occurred. I met up with her at a Starbucks the day after I posted on Reddit to get some answers to my query, but the truth is she didn't have any. She stated that she had no idea why. That she loves me and wants to marry me, but that when she was with me recently, she didn't feel like she truly wanted to be there. And I said, I feel like that occasionally, but I don't go out and duck servers, and she freaked out and said I'm too possessive. And that she should be given some leeway. She told me that cheating happens every day and that I shouldn't take it personally, and I couldn't believe what she said. Then the tears began, followed by the begging, and I asked her what it was. She adored everything about me, and she couldn't answer anything other than the normal cliché when I went off a long list of things I liked about her and ultimately added, those were the things I liked about you. I told her how betrayed I felt, how I could never picture being in another relationship for more than a few hours in my entire life, and how this was perhaps the worst thing someone had ever done to me personally in my entire life. Or maybe it was tears that sent me away. And before I knew it, I was sitting in Starbucks with 2 other idiots, with everyone staring at us. Finally, I told her that despite how devastated I was, there were some signals that it was going to happen anyhow, and that I don't think she felt the same way about the relationship as I did, at least not in the last year, and she was still crying. And I told her, thank you for some of the happiest years of my life, Joanne, and go duck yourself. I'll send your belongings over tomorrow. Except for the ring and my external hard drive, you can keep everything I own. The next day, a mutual acquaintance went over to her house and handed off her belongings while picking up my external. Since then, I've taken the ring off her finger at Starbucks. It hasn't been pleasant. I've been smoking a lot. I almost never smoke. I must consume 20 smokes per day. I think it's better in the short term in booze, but the worst part is discovering things that remind me of it. Finding some PJs she'd left in the laundry, feeling her perfume, strolling past a chicken town, seeing her shampoo in the bathroom, and seeing photos on my computer. It takes everything,